All right, we are on 6.4 video B. We just finished this with 6.A. Now let's move on to another problem. Now and we have a lot more to do, so yes, so let's go back up here. So we have an addition problem, and it's continued. I just continued it for you, so no big deal. Sometimes when I haven't done a problem in a while, it confuses me. And so anyways, so, okay, start a new problem. Here we go. 6.4 video B, we are adding fractions, and we're going to write each answer in lowest terms. So before we go any further, I noticed that this is a positive 2m and this is a negative 2m. I noticed that this is a negative 3n and this is a positive 3n. I bet you that if I multiply this bottom part right down here by -1, I bet you I can switch it. So which will give me, there's nothing I have to do to this one over here. Okay. But up here, I'm going to, well, I can do it to either one. And as I'm looking at it, I like the variables m to be written first. So I'm going to kind of just erase what I just did a few seconds ago. And I am going to be a little bit trickier, and I am going to multiply this one by -1, just because I like the m's first. So by multiplying this by -1, I'm going to get a -3n, and by multiplying this one by a -1, I'm going to get a positive m, 2m. So I can't forget that I multiplied it by a -1, because remember, it still has to look the same. This still has to be a -2m, and this still has to be a positive 3m. I just manipulated it a little. That's all I did. Now over here, I get 2m minus 3n over m and then n. Yep, there you go. So now I need a common denominator. My common denominator is going to be this. -1 times 2m minus 3n. They both have to have that, -1 times 2m minus 3n. Okay? I could have done something else. I could have made this a subtraction problem, moved the minus up to the numerator, but we're just going to go with this. Okay? Now, first of all, what are you missing from here that is in here? Well, you're missing a -1. So I'm going to multiply this by -1. So that gives me -m. What is this missing? That I'm not missing anything, so I'm just going to write down an n. Okay? So, whoops, don't go nowhere. Where did I go? All right. So now I have -1 times 2m minus 3n, and I'm going to add these two up here together. That's going to give me a -m plus n. Now watch what I could do if I wanted to, and I do want to. I'm going to actually take out a -1, and that's going to give me m minus n all over -1, 2m minus 3n. So what's going to happen is my -1s are going to cancel out to 1, because anything divided by itself is 1. So my answer, I know it kind of went crazy. My answer is going to be m minus n all over 2m minus 3n. And that's it. There's that one. Let's move on to the next one. Now we're going to do subtraction. Same idea, but we're subtracting. That's it. I personally do not like subtraction problems. I'm not telling you that you have to get rid of them, but I don't like them. And but anyways, that's just my preference. I have a fraction minus another fraction. They both have a common denominator, that is t minus 1. So I don't have to worry about anything. The only thing you do have to worry about is I can't do anything to this. You do have to distribute the minus sign across each of these. So what I personally would do is I change this to addition, and I would multiply this whole thing by a negative. It makes life easier. Negative times 5 is a -5. Negative times a positive t is a -t. Okay, let me stop this for a minute, reset it, and start. Okay. Now, my denominator is t minus 1. So I get 5t plus a negative t is 4t. And I get a negative 5, so that's just going to be a minus 5 there. They don't share anything, so I don't factor anything out, whatever. I don't like subtraction problems. I always turn them into addition problems, okay? All right, next one. Same thing. I don't like this subtraction problem. I'm going to change it to addition, and I'm going to make this number its opposite. So now it's an addition problem, so much easier. So I have two fractions. First of all, remember, these are two different denominators. So I know that they both have to have an a plus 2. They both have to have an a plus 2. They both have to have an a minus 3. So whatever, I'm just multiplying the two together. That's all. Now, whatever's missing here, if you notice it's missing an a minus 3. Whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. 6 times a is 6a. 6 times negative 3 is a negative 18. Now, same thing over here. It's missing a plus 2. Whatever you are missing here, you're going to multiply it up here as well. Negative 1 times a is a negative a. Negative 1 times 2 is a negative 2. Now, the common denominator is a plus 2, a minus 3. Now you combine like terms. 6a plus negative a is 5a. Negative 18 plus a negative 2 is a negative 20. Now, if you can factor it, you must factor it. So that's what I'm going to do here. They both share a 5. So I'm left with a minus 4 in the numerator. And then in the bottom, there's nothing you can do. And there's your answer. If you could simplify it further, you would have to, but we can't right now. That's it. That's our answer. All right. Always try to factor it towards the end, because sometimes you can get rid of stuff. How many more do we? Good heavens to Betsy, there's a lot of them. All right. Again, this is a subtraction problem. I am going to change this to addition, and I'm going to have to multiply all of this by negative 1. All right. Don't forget that. So I get 4x over x minus 1 plus a negative times a negative 3x is a positive 3x. A negative times a negative 1 is a positive 1. And now we have something a little bit of an issue. So I'm just going to go step by step. All I did was get rid of the minus sign, and it took care of the numerator. I had to manipulate it. I made it a plus sign, multiplied it by a negative 1. Now in the bottom, if you notice, they would be a common denominator. However, my x is positive, my my 1 is positive, my x is negative, and I really should have it backwards. So if I multiply the bottom one by negative 1, okay, that will give me x minus 1. Now remember, it's got to have that negative 1 still there. So I have 3x here, and I have 4x, and then x minus 1. Now if you notice, same problem, same everything. I got to get a common denominator. The common denominator is going to be a negative 1 and then an x minus 1. A negative 1 and an x minus 1. So what I need to do is here, what's missing here? The thing that's missing here is a negative 1. So I'm going to multiply this by a negative 1. So I get a negative 4x. I'm not missing anything here. I'm just going to get 3x plus 1 equals. Now my denominator is this. I'm going to add my numerators across. I get negative x plus 1. Two things you guys could do. If you wanted to, you could multiply the top one. You can redo this one if you want to. You can say a negative 1 times x minus 1, because in reality, that's what this is. And if you notice, all of that can be simplified to 1. That is a weird problem, but that's the answer. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, same thing here. I don't like subtraction problems, so I'm going to change that to addition, make that its opposite. I'm good, got rid of the subtraction problem. I do have to factor it if I can. So the first fraction looks like this. They both share an r, so it's going to be an r minus 5. Plus I get a negative 4 in the numerator. Now the bottom one's kind of a nice, it's not a terrible fraction, or sorry, it's not a terrible trinomial. The only way to get r squared is r times r. The only way to get 20, so we have 25, right? I need two numbers when multiplied together give you 25, but when added together give you negative 10. So a negative 5 times a negative 5 is 25. Negative 5 plus a negative 5 is a negative 10. So I know that these are my two factors. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find a common denominator. The common denominator is going to be huge. First of all, I need them both to have an r. This has an r minus 5 and this has an r minus 5. So I can scratch those out and just use it once. So there's my r minus 5. Okay, this is the one that they both share. Then I also have another r minus 5 over here, so I got to write that one down too. Sometimes you can go ahead and just write r minus 5 squared, but I don't like that. I like to see it. It just helps me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first fraction. What am I missing here? There's an r minus 5. I'm missing another r minus 5. So I'm going to multiply that by r minus 5. Whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. So I'm actually going to distribute this. 3r times r is 3r squared. 3r times a negative 5 is a negative 15r. Now on this side over here, the only thing I'm missing is r. So I'm going to times this by r, and I'm going to times this by r. Negative 4r. So now what you're going to do is your common denominator is r, and then r minus 5 times r minus 5. I personally like to write them out twice. You don't have to. You can put r minus 5 squared, but I like to write them out. Now I'm going to add these all up. So I get 3r squared, and a negative 15r plus a negative 4r is a negative 19r. Now, if you can factor it, you must factor it. They both share an r, so I'm going to take that out. Whoops, don't know why I put an equal sign in there. Don't know at all. All right, here we go. So they both share an r, so I get 3r minus 19 over r, and then once again, now I will cheat a little and just say 5 minus r squared, because I have two of them. Well, if you notice, they both share an r. Okay, so those go away, and you're left with 3r minus 19 over r minus 5 squared, or r minus 5 times r minus 5, your choice. All right, there's one. Now let's do this one. Again, I don't like subtraction problems, so I'm going to change this to addition, make that its opposite. Now it's just a nicer problem. So we have 2 over. Now I can factor the bottom one quicker. The only way to get p squared is p times p. I have a positive 4. I need to find two factors when multiplied together give you 4, but when added together give you a negative 5. So how about we do negative 4 times negative 1? That gives you 4. Negative 4 plus a negative 1 gives you negative 5. So that's my middle term. So I found the two factors. The two factors are negative 4 and negative 1. Plus, now this is a difference of squares. So that's going to be p plus 1 and p minus 1. And then that's going to be negative 3 on the top. Now this one's going to be a really long problem to do. Good heavens. So they both have to have a, let me just go this here. They both have to have a p minus 4. So I'm going to write that down now. They both have to have a p minus 1, which they both do, so that's no problem. And they both have to have a p plus 1. Remember, whatever you see, it's got to be written down there. They both have to share it. All right. Now, what is missing from here that is down here? Well, it would be a p plus 1. Whatever you do here, you must do to it up here. 2 times p is 2p. 2 times 1 is 2. So that's done. Now here, what's missing? P minus 4. Whatever you do here, you must do up here. Distribute. That's negative 3p plus 12. Now, all of this, you guys, I'm writing it again. Okay, don't freak out. It's just a lot of writing. No big deal. Now, combine like terms. We have a negative p plus 14. And you can call it a day because there's nothing you guys could do. That's the answer. Oh, wait, I totally missed it. That's actually 14. Oh, no, I did it right. Okay. All good. All right. So that's it for that one. That's just more continued. And we finished them all. All right. In a few minutes, we will do 6.5. Have a great day, and I'll see you shortly.